Yay, we're rolling. Hello, one. Hello, all. Welcome to the Annihilation spoiler talk. Our good friend Bryan finally got to see it over in the UK. If you're watching anywhere in, I think, Europe, you can watch it on Netflix. I think Australia has it. Everywhere but the US and Canada, it's watchable at home on Netflix. And if you're in the States or Canada, go quick because they're running out of showtimes at the theater.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Joining me is Peter from Bearded Movie Guy. Peter?
Yeah, that's what my channel's called. Whatever.
Whatever. Who cares?
And make sure you go check and subscribe. It's great. Yeah.
Listen, get 8 more subscribers this month.
Yeah.
For all that content you're pumping out.
Yep.
And of course, Bryan himself, Bryan Lomax from Bryan Lomax Movie Talk. Bryan.
Hey. Hello, one. Hello, all. Oh, no.
What idiot would say something like that?
Only idiots say that kind of thing.
Hello quickly to Patrick in the chat. He says, "Sup guys, sup Patrick." Yeah, so this is going to be a spoiler talk just right up front because Peter and I have kind of done this in the weeks leading up when we've been doing show business, and now that Bryan's seen it, I'm curious because I have a couple of views regarding the third act, and I'm just curious to see what you guys think.
Yeah.
Well, first thoughts, Bryan.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have only just seen it today, so in many ways, I am still processing it. It is one of them films that I think you're definitely going to get something out of on multiple viewings, repeat viewings. But initial thoughts, for me, it's just like all the best science fiction. It raises questions without giving you the answers, but not in a kind of pull the rug from under you, annoying kind of way, just leaving you dangling. I think that's the intention. It raises the questions and leaves you to think about them. Like I say, I think that's what, when science fiction's at its best, that's what it does. And the questions, first and foremost, that I think this particular film raises are that if God exists, why did he make us imperfect? Why, if God is a perfect creator, why are we imperfect creatures, beings, whatever you want to call us? And that raises the question as to whether God exists at all, which I think is a common question among science fiction, But, yeah.
Peter. I don't think you've outright said, Peter, you there? Are you frozen?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm not sure. It raises a lot of questions. I didn't get as much God stuff probably as Bryan did, I'm guessing.
What's funny is I got at least some Bible stuff toward the end, so it's quite interesting that you didn't. But go ahead.
Well, I got some. There are definitely some symbolic stuff, like religious iconography and stuff that's thrown in there, and overall arching questions. Like any science fiction film is usually whether it wants to be or not, God is thrown in the mix because that's, everyone goes, well, science will disprove God, and then they go, eventually, it's and it hasn't happened yet, where anyone can go, I got the proof right here, so it's interesting in that way. It asks a lot of questions about relationships, and the one thing I saw talking about it, Art from A to Z Reviews did a good talk about it, and he was talking about how it's all about, Annihilation is all about the symbolism of we're all destroying ourselves over and over again, and what we believe and who we are, and we make choices that destroy ourselves constantly. And I saw that several times in the movie. So I there's a bunch of themes to look at, and I totally agree. It asks a lot more questions than it answers, and I have a take on it that I've told CP about, which I'll hold off on for a couple minutes before I drop that out. But I have an interesting take on it that I thought about afterwards leaving the theater. So I'll bring that up in a couple minutes.
All right. Well, the thing that I've been dying to talk to, I guess both of you guys about, is the fact that spoilers. Once again, spoilers. The one thing that I felt was overt as a non-agnatheist, I guess is what you would call me. The character named Cain is the guy who's set on fire. Mm-hmm. I felt like that was a bit of a play, if not a straight reference to Cain and Abel. And your silence means I'm crazy.
No. No. Bryan, you want to go?
Well, yeah. I mean, you've got. I just think that the very environment that has been created by this alien life, energy, force, being, whatever you want to call it, in many ways it holds a mirror up to humanity and to creation in many respects, but it's a broken mirror because everything's to do with refraction. So that environment, it's the very theme of the movie, this idea that actually we are in some way corrupted, we are in some way broken. So when they go in there, they see essentially an imitation of life. They see a refraction of ourselves, a refraction of life. And there's a lot of key scenes, but there's the one towards the end when Natalie Portman is face to face with this alien that kind of becomes her. And for the longest moment, you see it as a threat. It looks threatening. It's not letting her go out of the room, but then you realize actually no, it's not stopping her. It's just copying her. It's learning from her. It's learning how to be her, and it's copying every movement that she does. And it's just in a way, it's like some weird kind of twisted version of her, but it isn't her. But it's just, yeah, it's like this thing, just again going back to that theme of, which I think is set up in that initial conversation between her and her husband, which is this idea, and that's when God first comes into it, is when he says, because she's quite dismissive of the idea of God during that conversation, and he's like, careful, he is listening, and she's like, yeah, whatever. So clearly there's that thing that Peter was talking about comes into play, which is, it's always a thing in science fiction movies, which is, science versus faith, or religion, for want of a better word.
Well, what do you guys make of the hybrid, like the bear thing that didn't have a face and somehow had that woman's voice, and then the plants that were assimilating to human form? There was a lot of hybrid stuff, like the animals that they were looking at were nothing we've ever seen.
Yeah, I liked, like, the bear in particular. I thought was
that was haunting.
Was creepy as hell. It's and like it's funny because they're like, whoa, in her final moments, it merged with the DNA, but I was like, I didn't take that. I was like, no, this is because of what it's become. This is an animal that is adapted to the fact of it's mimicking what it's heard and using that to draw more prey in. So realize that, like, just as they'll attract certain animals by playing the sound of a damaged animal, of like a hurt animal. So if you want to attack, like in hunting, if you want to attract certain animals, if you have the sound of like a baby animal, like that same sound, animals will go to it because they want to find out what's happening and if someone's in trouble. Or in predatory things, sharks always go for a fish that's flapping around that's been injured. And so it's like, I kind of took it as like, so this thing is literally adapted the fact that she screamed out and everyone chased her, that it's now adopted that as part of his thing. And it worked because it makes the noise and the girl goes running out and immediately gets toasted by the thing. So I don't know if it was what they were saying in that respect, that it was like it merged with the DNA, or if it was just like it had adapted because of the way that the shimmer had changed it.
John Steele says nature versus man, natural selection taking its course due to us being so destructive of the planet. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I do have some thoughts on that. I was just reading that. I was going to read it out because there's that one character who, see, I don't necessarily think it's nature versus man so much as man getting back to nature, man getting back to creation. When you think about, the Garden of Eden and how integrated mankind was supposed to be with his surroundings at the time, there's that one scene in which we've got this character who cuts herself to try and feel alive. In other words, she feels dead to the world around her. She doesn't feel like she belongs in this world, and I think a lot of us feel that way, today. And I think a lot of that is that the world just keeps on getting further and further away from God's original intention for us. And I feel like this scene in which she kind of accepts this world she stepped into, she accepts the nature to the extent that she becomes one with the plants. She becomes a plant. I don't really see it as this kind of the alien world has kind of taken over her, so to speak, so much as her choosing to go back to the beginning, really, to go, I think all these characters are symbolic of different sides of humanity. And I think this particular one is that desire within us all to get back to God's intention, to get back to our roots, to
in her case, definitely, she became a plant, So.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Right down to the roots.
Getting back to its roots.
I mean, it's a literal kind of representation of what I think that's saying.
So there was a line that humanity is self-destructive. So I'm paraphrasing ridiculously. What do you make of every human that's gone into the shimmer somehow self-destructing, and Natalie Portman making it out? Do you think that she has more will? Because I mean, Jennifer Jason Leigh just outright. That was one scene that really intrigued me when she walked into the lighthouse and was just.
Yeah.
That's the question, though, isn't it? Does she make it out?
See, Brian's clicked on my thing here.
All right, go ahead, Peter. You might as well segue into that.
This is my segue. This is Kaiser Soze territory. So, is Natalie Portman's character a reliable storyteller, a reliable narrator?
Nope.
And like, you're supposed to take it at face value, but when you've seen the ending, and she's like, he's like, are you her, or are you, I can't remember the exact words he said, but like, it's like, are you the original, or are you the repeat?
Are you Lena?
Are you Lena? And she's just like, no. And it's just like, so it's like, when you go back to that, everything she says after the shimmer is questionable. What, did any of it happen? Like, some of it probably happened, because why not? And some of it probably happened exactly as she said. Some of it might not have happened at all, and she's just telling the story she knows she wants them to hear that will get her in the room with her husband that's not really her husband. It's like, so it makes the whole story in a glorious way Kaiser Soze territory, where it's just like, now you have to open it all up to what actually happened. Do you believe what she said? The whole double thing, like, was she the double? Was she just the original one? That she'd already mentioned the fact that she had, her cells had changed on a molecular level, like she tested her blood. So it's like, did she have to change and become the double, or was she already not Lena? And stuff.
I think from the moment they stepped in there, they weren't who they were originally. I mean, we we get that line from Jennifer Jason Leigh's character when she says, "I want to get to the lighthouse while I'm still me."
Yeah.
Before, you know, this idea that a bit like Alzheimer's, that you're fading away, and they were all fading away from the moment they stepped in there. But you see it in her eyes, you know, you see it in his eyes. You see it in his eyes first. There's that glow, that shimmer in his eyes, and she has that same glow in her eyes. She is not the same person that went in there. I mean, we're told that constantly throughout the film, how we could expect the same person to come out. You know, it's not her, and I think this scene towards the end in which this thing is just copying every one of her movements, that, you know, it's just, there's a change going on there. There's a learning process going on there, and there's you know, she's becoming something different, and she may not even know it. But yeah, I don't see her as the same person who
well, it's the thing, right? Because so she says, like, oh, we both fell down when, like, it was touching its head to my head, and then we both fell down, and then when I got up, it's like, hypothetically, if it was like, if they'd switched places at that point, it's telling the narrative, so it's saying who fell down and who got up and who did what and who blew up, but it's one of those things where, can you believe what it says? And she's definitely, like, in the ending confirms that it's not her, but then it just throws everything back into, like, okay, what happened? And was that all just a tale she told to get in the room? And I'll get to another thing in a second, CP. You have something you want to say, I'm assuming. You know.
No. Go ahead, finish.
Well, no,
especially if it's on point with what you're
talking. It opens up this whole thing about why is he the only one to get out of the shimmer? And my theory, that is not fully formed yet, but my theory is he was the only one that had a relationship that the shimmer could understand, that the shimmer wanted her and understood that she would come into the shimmer. So it spits him out and sends him to her to get her to come in, so then both of them could be outside the shimmer together when they're both different people. You follow me?
They need to learn how to exist in our world, go undetected. They're essentially, it's invasion of the body snatchers. It's just doing it in the broad light of day.
In a much bigger thing. So and now there are two aliens that are outside of the shimmer, because the shimmer doesn't exist anymore, that are being looked at as not being aliens and stuff. Like, so where that goes, I don't know, but that's why I think he got spit out, was purely to make her go in so that both of them could be out together.
What were the rules of the constraints of the shimmer that, like, why couldn't they get out of the shimmer to begin with?
I think it wasn't that the shimmer being, I think, an alien intelligence of some type, like it's rewriting DNA and all that kind of stuff, right? It was experimenting with whoever went into it.
Well, it just didn't let them. I mean, some of them went crazy and killed each other. Yeah. Some of them accepted, like that woman kind of accepted the world she was in to the point where she became part of that world. She became a tree. And others just, I don't know, are just wandering around lost in delirium, because there's that lost time. And, you know, I got the sense that time in the shimmer isn't the same as time outside of the shimmer.
She was in it for like 3 weeks, where she thinks she was in it for
a few days.
A matter of days. Yeah. So, but I think it's literally like when the scene with him where he blows himself up, he's talking about, you should go see her, right? So what I'm thinking is that the shimmer connected with him because he was different than everyone else that got sent into it, right? He had this relationship that it was like, ooh, what's that? I don't understand that. And so when it kind of cloned him or did whatever you want to say to it, when it copied him, and then basically became him and stuff, it wanted to explore what that was, because none of the other people had that. None of the other people who went in had relationships like he had with Lena.
Isn't that a version of mitosis, though? I mean, they show these I mean, they showed it a couple of times with cells splitting and then resplitting. And granted, it's you know, it's two different people as far as humans are concerned. But is it fair to assume that I think his name was Kane. Yeah. Kane. Kane and Lena are just the first split of the alien, and then they're just going to go and continue to destroy humanity.
Yeah, or it could be, you know, she gets pregnant and then whatever comes.
Ugh.
Like that was also the other thought was, of course, biological. Like, so the Shimmer's exploring what this world is, and it's got men and women, and so it when it found out that he had a significant other that would fit the criteria to want to come in here, it sent him back to guarantee that she came in, so that then she could get out, and it could then now it's free outside the Shimmer to reproduce biologically with a man and a woman that are now men and women, but not men and women. You know what I mean? Like it's asking a ton of questions.
What's the symbolism of water in the movie? There's a lot of very heavy, long shots on glasses of water.
Well, I mean, traditionally water is symbolic of purity, isn't it? And if you want to look at biblical symbolism again, then again you've got water is often symbolizes life and you know, the purity and that kind of thing. So
plus it's glasses of water, so like that scene where it's on the table, it refracts their hands, so you see their hands through the water. So like when they're sitting at her table after he's shown up and then he drinks the water and there's a scene where it's just
the first time.
Yeah, the first time when he shows up.
Right.
There's a scene where like it zooms in on the water and you see their hands refracted through the water, which is the whole prism thing of the Shimmer, that it refracts everything.
Ooh, I didn't even know.
I stole that, I think, from art. I'm not going to that I came up with that. Okay. I heard someone say that. I think it's art. I'm going to give art credit. If it's not art, well then tough luck. You get credit anyways. But like either he said or somebody, but I was like, holy crap. And then later on when she apparently, I didn't see this, but apparently when she is in the interrogation room after she's out of the Shimmer and she takes a drink of water, something starts happening in the water with cells or blood, or I don't know. I didn't see it, but someone commented on YouTube about it.
You've kind of got a book ending, haven't you, with the water, because she does something similar later on to what he does. Now, when he drinks from the water, it's an indication of him being ill, being not quite himself, because when he drinks the water at the table in their house, blood comes out.
Yeah.
And then she does the same thing later on. She drinks, you know, when she comes out of the Shimmer, she drinks from the water and no blood comes out. So I guess that's there to imply that she is Lena. Or it's there to imply that this alien life form has now fully learned how to be Lena. Or, you know, again, it's open-ended. It's whatever you want it to mean, really.
Well, what do you make of Jennifer Jason Leigh's exit? I mean, honestly, everybody else, something happened to them where they turned into something else. Jennifer Jason Leigh kind of became a dancing orb in a Pink Floyd video.
Yeah.
It became light. Whether that's symbolic of anything, I don't know. But yeah.
See, when I was first taking it in, I thought that the Shimmer was rejecting her body because she had cancer. But you know, then some really trippy stuff happened. So that thought wasn't very long in my head. But
I mean, the thing that I found most bizarre is that when she's in there, her eyes look like they've kind of skinned over. and then Portman's character comes in and she turns around and her eyes look fine. So
I don't know. I thought, to me, I kind of was like, it's breaking her down to the DNA level. And like kind of like expelling her DNA for use. And I'm guessing, like, I kind of took that it couldn't find value in her to do anything with past, maybe because of the cancer, maybe because it's just she doesn't serve a purpose outside of the Shimmer, where Natalie Portman's character does, right? So it basically broke her down to the bare bones components of energy, and then focused itself on Natalie Portman's character. But that's just kind of the way my brain initially took it. I need to see it several more times.
I was just going to say, it's, you know,
that's what I was going to say. I was going to say, I think it's safe to say we all need to see this film again.
and I normally don't process stuff like this. I need like 3 or 4 viewings before I can like really get into it.
A review by one of Brian's countrymen. I think it's Jack's reviews, or who is it? Rob's reviews. Young kid, and he gave it like 3 out of 5. And he's like, people are making a big deal out of this movie, and I just don't see it. I don't I don't get it. And I'm thinking, yeah, I'm kind of being an old fart going, maybe you're just too young to get it. It's like, maybe you're not paying attention enough to the things that we're seeing. And maybe, because the first time I saw Blade Runner, I was like, well, that was all right, and I was younger. And like, since then I've watched it a bunch more times, and like I've literally every time I watched it gotten more out of it, and like to the point where I'm like, oh, it's this, okay, it's 3.5. Oh, it's 4. Oh,
I definitely feel that Blade Runner is a more coherent film.
It is.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm a bit immature when it comes to pacing and stuff. If something's boring, I tend to side with the millennials. And if anything, the first act probably was a tad slow, but I mean, they completely flip-flop it. The third act, I was just mouth agape for the whole.
Yeah.
Once they're near the lighthouse, they're like, that was it. I was sold from there out. But I don't know. It's a movie that builds and builds and builds and builds.
Yeah.
On a more
kind of slow, but I didn't mind that.
Yeah. Yeah. If it gets paid off, I really don't. I'm not complaining. I'm just in the moment I was just like, all right, we could be going a little bit faster.
On a more surface level, I got to say, I do really like the fact that this isn't a crew of male soldiers going in. It's really refreshing to see an all-female team.
Nobody's talking about it either.
Yeah, I know. No one's mentioning that.
I really enjoyed it. I like to see like some real kick-ass stuff with, particularly with Natalie Portman's character. I mean, like when that crocodile dragged that girl under, I'm like, there's no way in hell I'm doing what Natalie Portman's just done, which is to dive straight in after her. But yeah, I mean, and she knows how to use a weapon, and it's refreshing to see, and I think it does push. I mean, I'm not saying we never get female characters like this. I think in this day and age, we do get quite a lot. But to see an all-female team treated really well, we don't really call much attention to the fact that they're female.
Well, that's kind of the problem, though. I mean, you get shit like Ocean's 8 coming out. You get all this. Well, here's the girl version of that, and then there's this movie Annihilation that is everything that everybody appears to have a problem with, and it's being done well, and nobody's talking about it.
It's because in the other films it seems like a gimmick, I think.
Oh, so they need
Ghostbusters. It's all female. Female Oceans movie. It's all female, and then it's like, this isn't a female sci-fi movie. This is a sci-fi movie that has a crew of 5 women that are going in to do stuff, but it's not emulating anything else and doing that. It's being its own thing, and because of that, people are like, well, it's not you know, it's not showing that women can do it too. It's just women are doing it. And it's like, I think people are missing the point. The fact that, like, yeah, women can do it. And it's like, and the fact that every crew they'd sent in before that had been men, and they're just like, well, they all didn't come back. Maybe we're missing something, and, you know, let's try women. And like, it's not like they sent in women that weren't worthy. All those women were very prepared and smart, and, like, you know, like, knew their roles. It's like, you know, it wasn't like, oh, and she's the gimmicky one, because no, it's like they all literally had a purpose for being there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
I don't know. I think it's being missed. Like, I think it should. We just had International Women's Day, and I didn't hear anyone talk about Annihilation.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Right.
Yeah.
So
Raw, written and directed by a female.
yeah.
What do I know?
Hey, get out winning that.
Hey, bro. First time we're talking since Sunday. Most original screenplay.
Uh-huh.
So I thought I knew Alex Garland's past, but I didn't realize he
Trainspotting, Dread.
He wrote. Yeah, he's written a bunch of stuff.
He wrote Trainspotting.
Yeah.
I thought
Is that
Irving
a fact?
Welsh wrote Trainspotting.
Pardon?
I thought Irving Welsh wrote Trainspotting.
He wrote the book.
Oh, okay, so Alex Garland wrote the script?
Yeah, Alex Garland adapted the screenplay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 28 Days Later, Dread, which incredible Ex Machinas.
The Beach as well, I think.
Ooh.
Yeah, we won't talk about that one. No, I haven't seen The Beach.
I don't mind that. With DiCaprio, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
I think it's probably not his best work, but even so, his worst work is better than most people's on a good day. So
Is this only the second film he's directed, or has he directed more other than whatever the other one was?
So
Ex Machina.
Ex Machina.
Which I thought was really good. Do you think this is better than Ex Machina, or
No?
Or no?
I prefer Ex Machina. I think Ex Machina is more coherent. I think it kind of deals with its ideas a little bit better. I think it's more accessible is the word.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely more accessible. They both have Oscar Isaac in it. He's apparently, you know, his golden boy.
He's everyone's golden boy.
He is. That guy. He's a very talented actor. Yeah. But
yeah, I mean, at this point, like I say, only seen it today, still processing it. I think this is about as far as I can take my end of the discussion, to be honest.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe when it comes out over here, we'll do a commentary or something.
Stream commentary.
Yeah, no, it's like, yeah, I've only seen it once. What, film commentary? We do film commentaries?
Yeah, Lee's got a new idea. He's gonna start doing commentaries on his channel. Just a brand new idea.
That's brilliant. I wish I thought of that. Wait a minute.
Brian's like, I got a backlog of 30 episodes. What are you talking about?
Wait a minute. This seems familiar. I can't put my finger on it.
Oh, Lee.
Oh, wait a minute. I heard of a YouTuber who did that. British guy. Hold on. It'll come to me.
Anyway.
Yeah, no. So we've all only seen it once, and if I think I'm speaking for both of us, Peter, when I say we're a tad rusty on some of the elements of the movie. Like Brian, it's got to be way fresher in your head than ours.
Yeah. You saw it before I did. You saw it like at least a couple days before I did. Maybe.
Yeah, I saw it opening night.
Yeah, then you saw
20 something of February. Yeah.
Yeah. It's that, like, I don't understand why Netflix got it. Like, I don't understand what they
Paramount didn't want to distribute it
that
globally.
Doesn't make any sense, though. I don't understand mutant movies.
Well, because the test audience didn't like it.
Actually, given the really poor box office from it,
they only put it in 2,000 theaters.
It doesn't matter. Just on a per screen average, it failed. I mean, that's sad.
Yeah,
and it's a ringing indictment of audiences. But from a studio perspective, hate to say it, but from a financial standpoint, yeah, Paramount were right.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah. It's like I saw it the week after it came out at 10 o'clock at night, or like 9:50 it started, and there were 8 people in the theater. That was it. And
It's like audiences, seriously, time and time again. I can't remember how many times. Like I don't know how many times I have to repeat this, but audiences are to blame for the films that they get. It's like constantly, you know, they churn out the same kind of Michael Bay style crap, and people go and just splurge out their money for it, and then you get an original piece of science fiction like this. You get an original detective thriller like The Nice Guys. You get, you know, all these amazing films, and people don't go and see them. And then they complain and they say, "Oh, cinema is dead. Cinema these days is just rubbish. They don't make films like they used to." Well, get yourselves to blame.
Yeah.
I don't want to think in the theater. Coincidentally, Paramount's biggest success of the last couple of years is Transformers. So
yeah,
they know what they're doing. Somebody buy them, please, so that so that we could just be put out of our misery.
I mean, I do have to ask, however, how Paramount allowed it to get beyond the script stage if they felt it was too intellectual, you know. It's like
they screened it for a test audience, and the test audience was like, it's a bit deep, and they were like, all right, so go back and change this and this, and Garland was like, no. and one of the producers was like, no, you can't really do that with the movie like this, and they were like, all right,
you got 20 minutes of it. What?
Yeah, they tried to Disney it, and
they tried to Snowpiercer it, because that's what they did to Snowpiercer.
Oh, is that a fact?
Yeah, they looked at it. They had test audiences. Test audiences loved it, and I can't remember if it was Weinstein or somebody else, but they literally went, "Yeah, cut 20 minutes of it." Yeah. And the director was like, "Where?" And they went, "We don't care. Just cut 20 minutes out. It's too long."
Yeah, I want to know test audiences. They should hire, test audience should be paid, and they should have, I don't know, 1,000 of them. So, you know, you have particular different types of people that you bring in. Like, oh, you like comedy? Here's Annihilation. Of course they're gonna be like, yeah, this is way too much for me. Like, you gotta cater to who you think is gonna watch the movie. Like, if you're just bringing random tourists in off the streets from Los Angeles as a test audience, of course like movies. You know, people don't just drop into a movie just because there's some sort of interest. So like, you got to get these test audiences to meet you halfway and be like, oh no, I'm sci-fi. That sounds good. Let me watch this. But I'm curious. I don't know how the process is. I'm curious to see if there's any sort of vetting, because they have way too much power, these test audiences.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know. I think it's a really good movie. I think it's a gorgeous movie. It looks really good. I think performances are solid.
You know, it's a what do I call it? I called it a sensual carnival. Visually, audibly, it's something you want to watch in the theater.
It's one of the best looking films I've seen in theaters since Blade Runner.
Interstellar. Blade Runner, right.
Yeah, I think
I wasn't as sold on the cinematography as I'd like to have been. I do think it is a genuinely nice looking film, but I didn't like the color palette. I thought it was a bit too hazy. I didn't think it had rich blacks and things like that in it. I think it veered more towards the Marvel school of
I like me some purples and pinks. We saw a lot of purples and pinks in that movie.
Yeah, you did.
But we didn't see a lot of blacks. It felt like it had that kind of haze over it the whole time. And like, I still loved the visuals. I still thought they were great. But I think, I thought Arrival was a much better looking film.
Guys, you want to
get? I'd say Arrival was as pretty. I'd say Arrival was shot better.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like I say, I'm not saying Annihilation isn't pretty to look at. It is. But there was some issues from a cinematography kind of perspective that I'd have just liked the colours to have been a bit more crisper, a bit more dense.
Is that cinematography though, or is that color grading and
cinematography?
And set design,
mise en scène.
Mise en scène, yeah. The thing is, like, color grading goes hand in hand with cinematography, and if both sides of the pan know what they're doing, then you get a good cooked meal. So,
I like to eat meals.
Very good.
Guys, you want to give your scores for the film before we head off?
Yeah, I mean, I just currently editing my review of it, so that will be up tomorrow at the latest. But yeah, I gave it a 4.5. I think it's
out of 5.
Pardon?
Out of 5.
Out of 5. Yes, 4.5 out of 5. It could go either way on a second watch. You know, if it doesn't have the same kind of impact on a second watch, I could imagine it very easily dropping to a 4. But then if I get certain things that I didn't get before, and that makes me feel more intellectual about it, then I'll pat myself on the back by giving it a 5 out of 5. So we'll see what happens.
Peter,
I'm pretty much in the same boat. 4.5 out of 5. I didn't think it was perfect, but incredibly solid, like all the way around. Like I thought that the directing and cinematography, the script was pretty good. I thought the actresses were really good. Like Oscar Isaac was Oscar Isaac. So yeah, I was like, this isn't perfect, but it's the best movie I've seen from this year. Like I know a lot of people would probably put a certain African nation film higher than it. I wouldn't. I think that's a good film. I think this is verging on spectacular. Like it's great. It's verging on spectacular. Not quite there, but it did ask a lot of great questions, and I like movies that do that. I like movies that are like, okay, here we're going to give you a bunch of stuff. We're going to answer a little bit of it, or we're going to leave a lot of it to you, and you figure it out. And it ticked all those boxes, as we like to say. Will it win an Oscar? Heck no.
Well,
my fear is just that, like, I'm a really big science fiction fan. I love sci-fi movies. Blade Runner.
Started a channel on YouTube about this.
Cine Sci-Fi on Facebook.
Yeah, but like Blade Runner 2049 was my favorite film last year. I absolutely loved it. Alien Covenant and Life appeared in my top 10 as well. It's just, I just think that when you get proper, intelligent, hard sci-fi like this, and then it doesn't do well, because Blade Runner 2049 didn't do well.
Well, America sucks. That's basically what it comes down to.
It's crippling the genre. It's crippling science fiction.
Yeah, I got a very Prometheus vibe from this, just right down to the success of it too.
Yeah. You make an alien film about ideas. Ridley Scott took it in a different direction, made it about ideas, which is what all great sci-fi should be. And people don't like it. You make science fiction just purely about the aliens ripping people apart, and they lap it up, and it pisses me off.
Somebody, I think, in the Facebook group said, it's like, sure, it looks nice, but come on, calm down. It's not Prometheus or anything. Like for how deep it was. And I'm just like, I think it's asking a lot of questions.
Yeah, I'll round out the group with my 4.5, which is documented on Letterboxd. I will say that timing has something to do with it too. Like if this came out in October with all the the Oscar bait shit, maybe it wouldn't have that big an effect. But here we are in February, the wasteland of movie releases, and here's this strong, very strong sci-fi movie. It's just like, why is nobody? Why? What? what happened? Why aren't people talking about this? Like
Black Panther.
Man, Black Panther buried a bunch of.
I was just going to say, there is no poor season anymore.
Right.
Gone. It's and you know, isn't that great for us as movie fans? That
is it though?
I think
it isn't.
If you're getting great movies all year round, of course it is.
But are we getting great movies all year round? Are movies getting buried in, like, you know, like, be honest, Brian, wouldn't you like to see an Annihilation in the theater?
Of course I would, yeah.
It's nice to save the money to get it, but like, you didn't get it in the theater because they didn't trust that it would deserve a theater release. But
but again, that's the audience's to blame. It's
the audience and the production company that's like, no, we're not gonna trust our movie. We're gonna go with what Joe Schmo said, who doesn't do this for a living. And like, we trusted him to make the movie. We trusted him. We gave him money. We gave him the script. We gave him allowed him, like, you know, we knew what was going on. And then just because a couple test audiences didn't get it, we pulled back completely. How many times have we seen that done? How many times has, you know, actors and directors that we like, such as Zack Snyder, being screwed over because test audiences and like, or reactions to whatever. Oh, we better cut this or that, you know. So
Marvel screwed up a lot. Like, for as much as it's neat for comic book fans to have, you know, their daily dose or their quarterly dose of Marvel cinema, it kind of screwed up movie making, because now there's these expectations that just isn't a part of the process, that nobody ever expected to make 6 movies and have this timeline, and like everything's kind of just ruined now.
Yeah, everything's got to be a franchise.
Yeah, like, you know, what happened to the $10 million movie that made $15 million being considered a success? Like, that's just not a thing anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, any last words, boys?
Just one last thing I'll say about test screenings is that the very fact that it's a test screening means that the people who go in there as the audience members are already going in there with a different mindset. They're already going in there with a very specific idea to criticize, to find fault, which is why test screenings overall are just a lot of bollocks.
Yeah, because they do dictate how much money the production company or the distributor puts behind marketing.
Yeah,
and it's like this big catch-22.
If you ever want to see a good thing about how bad test screenings can change a movie, Good Bad Flicks, which I highly recommend if you've never been to his channel. He's a
good channel. Yeah.
YouTuber. Did a thing about disturbing behavior with Natalie Holmes or
Katie Holmes,
Katie
her
Holmes.
sister.
Natalie Holmes. Katie Holmes. And he breaks down like the fact that like they had this movie and they showed it to a test audience, and most of them liked it, but a few of them didn't, and they changed like major parts of the movie because a few people at the test screening didn't like it, and then they did it again, and most of the test screening liked that one except a couple people, and then they changed it again, and it's like literally the film that was written and made compared to the film that you got. He's like, and he shows you parts of what was supposed to be there, and it's heartbreaking, like how badly like they'll allow a test audience to screw with what a guy spent a year making.
I can't defend the procedures of this country.
Yeah.
Our president lost by 3.5 million votes and is our president.
And he's your president.
American math. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. So Peter
actually said that you've got Trump in the background on your TV.
Is it?
Applauding himself.
Yeah, Trump's new slogan: "Keep America great!" Exclamation point. Oh, he's making green hats now.
Yeah, because green.
St. Paddy's Day.
He's getting on the green movement.
What was that?
Said St. Paddy's Day. What do we do?
Oh,
So
for
make it
St.
green?
Patrick's Day.
Green,
Oh
green
my
something.
God.
Make Ireland great again.
Oh man.
Give us all your Guinness.
Your country screwed me up, Bryan. I shouldn't be here right now. Peter, what do you got going on?
I got show business on CP's channel on Wednesday nights at 9 o'clock, 9:30 sometimes.
Right here.
And I'll be completely honest. I've been tempted a couple times in the last little while to make videos.
Yeah, just
I've been tempted.
Don't throw any production behind it. Just
enough to actually do anything. I got going to the gym and working out on my schedule. That's what I got. So, as much as I love movies, I'm trying not to die. So,
sweet.
Yeah,
that's always good.
You'll see me on these guys' channels possibly, and that's I'm sure I'll gain 10 subscribers from that.
Yeah, we'll try to get some Annihilation once we get it, on our side of the pond. It's so strange. Once we get it for home, we could probably set something up. Bryan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look for Bryan Lomax's movie review of Annihilation coming soon to a YouTube screen near you.
Yeah. I've got my review of this film, which we've just talked about. So you probably won't want to bother watching my review. But yeah, that'll be going live sometime in the next 12 hours. If you're a fan of Kubrick, head on over to my channel. I've been reviewing all his movies. I'm still going with that.
Oh yeah, we need to have our talk about that too, brother.
We do. I will be moving to Alfred Hitchcock at some time in the very near future. So I've already recorded.
Filmmaker.
I've already filmed and edited 5 reviews of his films. They will be coming. I think after I finish Kubrick.
Quickly, who's a better filmmaker, Kubrick or Hitchcock?
Hitchcock.
Kubrick.
Hitchcock. He doesn't have the same tools.
No, Kubrick. For me, the thing that separates them is the variety for which Kubrick made. Hitchcock was the master of what he did, but what he did was the same thing over and over again.
Oh, so my thing with Daniel Day-Lewis, you're using against me now. Okay.
No, that's my point that I've just made about Kubrick is the exact same point you could make for Daniel Day-Lewis.
No, it's not.
His performance is different in every single
he does
film.
one type of film and one type of film only. Oscar Bates.
It's not about the type of film. It's about the type of performance.
Oh, it's the type of films he makes.
Is different in every single film. You show me 2 performances by Daniel Day-Lewis that are the same.
He's got Oscar bait. That's all he does.
No, show me 2 performances by him that are the same.
I would like to see Daniel Day-Lewis in a cheeky rom-com. That'd be nice.
Show me Daniel Day-Lewis doing anything but Oscar bait. Can you name one?
He only does but one movie every 2 years.
He doesn't do anything but Oscar bait. He's drama.
He doesn't do anything but movies that require hard graft and something of a certain quality. Is what you're saying, basically.
No,
I don't think anyone is going to argue that somebody in a romantic comedy chick flick is deserving of any kind of accolade.
So that's why Hitchcock is better than Kubrick.
You need to rewatch Roman Holiday, Bryan.
You're talking about Hitchcock. He's been nominated. He was nominated for Best Director more times than bloody Kubrick was.
He didn't win an Oscar. He won.
Neither did Kubrick. Neither did Kubrick. 0 on both sides. Yeah. What have you got?
That's why I don't believe in the Oscars.
that good old Academy.
Right there shows you Kubrick and Hitchcock. Hitchcock didn't win an Oscar. You guys know that, right?
Hey?
Hitchcock got 1 Oscar.
Oh, he got an
honorary
achievement thing.
He got an honorary Oscar, and he got up for his acceptance speech and he went, "Thank you," and you walked away. And I'm like, and that's the mic drop of I don't care about your awards.
Who made the best horror film? As far as I'm concerned, it was Kubrick with The Shining. Hitchcock spent his entire career making horror films, making thrillers.
Does The Shining exist if Psycho's never made?
I don't think The Shining's better than Psycho. I'm sorry on that one.
I think it is.
Does it exist without Shining, though?
I don't think so.
Without Psycho?
Yeah.
I disagree, but
I asked you a question. How could you disagree?
Oh, I thought you said. I thought you were making a statement. I thought you said it wouldn't exist.
No, I'm asking. Do you think The Shining exists without Psycho?
It's hard to say.
Okay.
It's hard to say. It's like, would The Shining exist without any of the, Texas Chainsaw Massacre or any of those horror films that came out of the 70s? It's like, it's a bit of a moot question, really. But I mean, would Psycho exist without M or anything of Fritz Lang's kind of output? So it's just it all feeds into each other. But my point is, Kubrick made one of the best war films ever made. He made probably the best period drama ever made. He made one of the best horror films ever made. He made arguably one of the best science fiction movies ever made. It's like he's genre hopped. Hey?
Which war film?
Paths of Glory.
Okay. I just didn't know if you were referring to that or Full Metal Jacket. Yeah. Paths of Glory is brilliant. I totally agree.
It's just like that to me is like Ang Lee for me is the same, because whatever genre he jumps into, he makes it his own, and he makes a brilliant film in. I like Hulk. I don't give a toss.
Come on, man.
No, I like it.
Not brilliant.
But you get my point. You're dancing around. You're dancing around the whole time, because no matter what I say, you just want to attack it to try and prove your point. But my point still stands.
I'm okay with what you're saying most of the time. I really am. It doesn't bother me even that you think Kubrick's better than Hitchcock. That doesn't bother me a bit.
Bothers me.
It doesn't. They're both brilliant guys, and they're very different. So I would put Hitchcock above Kubrick, but not by much. But
see, I think it's hard. They were at different. They were in their prime at different times. Technology. I mean,
yeah.
Can you imagine Hitchcock with a Steadicam? I don't know. Just
things he might have been able to pull off with
CGI. Right. CGI. Like it's hard. Hitchcock's about a generation, half a generation ahead of Kubrick. So it'd be really neat to see them competing with one another.
Either way, you can't go wrong with their films.
Yeah, between Hitchcock, Kubrick, and Scorsese, there's only one Oscar.
Ridiculous.
Again, that's why the Oscars are balls.
On that note, I can completely agree with you. I do think and, every year I get caught up in the Oscars. I like that kind of
guy tied for the win in our draft.
I do. I just like all that stuff. But when it comes down to it, it is a load of bollocks, because the right film never wins. It's just.
Well, I don't think the right film never wins, but why it wins isn't necessarily even the thing, right? Like the Oscar voters have come out and said, like, some of them hadn't even seen, a lot of them hadn't even seen Get Out.
Yeah.
It was literally on the ballot because they were told to put it on the ballot. And a lot of them were like, we don't even think it's an Oscar film, but we're putting it on the ballot. Now, I haven't seen Get Out, so I can't say either way. But a lot of people were literally told, you should put this on the ballot. You don't have to vote for it. Don't worry. And just like a lot of them haven't seen, apparently, like Call Me By Your Name or Lady Bird and stuff, and they're voting for it and stuff. So it's like, if Oscars want me to be to take them seriously, I think you need to set up something like a letterboxd account where you can go in and see what the person who's a member of the Academy, what they thought of a film, how they watched that film. Watching 2001: A Space Odyssey on your laptop is not giving it a fair shake, right? That's the wrong way to see that film. So if you only saw Annihilation on your iPad, and you're like, yeah, I saw the movie. You saw the movie, but you didn't see the movie. If you didn't see Dunkirk in a big theater, you're missing out. That was made to be seen in a big theater. It's like,
I would argue the same thing about Annihilation. That whole thing in the lighthouse is just
a big theater. It was seeing it on a big screen. Like, I was stoked to go see it on a big screen. So I I think they should have to say when they saw it, how they saw it, what they rated it. And so you can say, yes, I've seen, like Edgar Wright, we talked about this, the fact that Edgar Wright saw every freaking thing because he takes it seriously being a member of the Academy. But balls, they don't care. So,
but going back to Hitchcock, he would be in my top 10 directors of all time. I just want
top 10? Would it be in your top 5? It takes you that long to think about it.
Wow.
Top 10.
Oh.
Top
Brian.
10.
Kubrick would be in my top 10, so don't worry about it.
Next time you want to have a lengthy chat, please invite me to have a top 10 director discussion, because I'm curious to pick that tree, because
Go on, give me your top 5.
Well, here. Would Kubrick go on your Mount Rushmore of directors? That was a question we had a long time ago on something. And you're allowed to pick 4 directors. What's your Mount Rushmore?
You're asking Brian, right?
Well, you can answer too. Doesn't matter.
Christopher Nolan's on there. David Fincher's on there.
Wow.
Have you seen movies before 1980? I'm sorry.
Before 1990.
Stanley Kubrick probably is on there after going through all of his films. Before I started doing these reviews recently, I wouldn't have said that. In fact, I'd have said Stanley Kubrick was overrated. But watching his films, his whole filmography, going through them with a critical mindset, like thinking, are these really as good as people say? What can I say? I've been won over. I've got no choice.
Wide shut.
Yeah, even by Eyes Wide Shut.
Brian, do me a favor. When we're done this, go watch my, just like it's a minute long, go watch my Eyes Wide Shut review, okay? It's a minute long, I swear. Just watch my Eyes Wide Shut review. I was thinking of you when you did your review. I thought of mine. Yeah.
I don't think Kubrick's on mine.
He's not on my Rushmore now.
To be honest, I think we've done this Rushmore thing before, and I think I did put Hitchcock on my Rushmore. I think it's, look, if Nolan, Fincher, Spielberg, and currently as it stands, either Kubrick or Hitchcock. But that fourth position is literally between Hitchcock and Kubrick. So the distance of which I'm talking that is between them is next to nothing. It's extremely minimal. And like the only thing really that for me just clinches it for Kubrick is the fact that he worked in so many genres, whereas Hitchcock didn't. And like I've watched one today of Hitchcock's, which I didn't like.
What'd you watch?
And it's because he went for straight out comedy. And it had, it still had that typical dark humor that he has.
Family Plot?
Pardon?
Family Plot?
No.
Trouble with Harry?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I liked it, but it's a very different Hitchcock movie.
Yeah, I just, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very different Hitchcock.
So it tells me that when he played to his strengths, Psycho, that kind of thing, he made the best of that genre. But when he stepped outside of that, Barry
Lyndon is dry and boring as hell.
I just think you're completely off your nut on that. I think Barry Lyndon, absolutely stunning.
Now, okay, it looks beautiful, but
I don't mean just the look of it. I mean like the drama of it. I mean the character, the writing.
Away from that now. I did watch it like 6 years ago, so I maybe need to give it another chance, but I didn't come away from that going, that is a masterpiece. I came away going, well, they look nice, but man, was that a bad story. I didn't enjoy it at all.
I think you're wrong, but
that's okay.
Hitchcock, Scorsese, Spielberg, Tarantino.
Those are your Rushmore?
Yeah.
Tarantino's in my top 10.
See, Tarantino's in my top 10 easily, but
speaking of haven't really missed yet.
I would have put him on my Rushmore, but
definitely.
I don't know because
that's an okay miss.
Yeah,
it's an okay miss. Yeah.
I think for me, it's Nolan's there, which I'm sure people are like, I can't believe Christopher Nolan's on anyone's top.
I can't believe I feel like the homer with the Spielberg pick, but
yeah, he's not there necessarily for me.
What?
With the what? Say that again. What?
with the Spielberg pick, I mean, you want to talk about multiple genres?
What are you on about?
Spielberg,
Yeah, what about him?
the director.
Yeah, I put him in my Mount Rushmore.
Oh, did you? I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
I apologize.
I
I
didn't hear you.
apologize.
I don't know. He's close. He may
I said Nolan, Spielberg, Fincher, and then that fourth spot is either Kubrick or Hitchcock.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't hear that. I'm sorry.
I love the Fincher. Mine would have Nolan. It would have possibly Spielberg. Like, thing is, Spielberg has had some of the greatest movies ever made, and then he's made the BFG. It's like, what?
Hey, I like the BFG. Screw you.
It was a fine, okay movie. You got to go through his filmography and go, okay,
Pick the decade. I could find you a gem in each of them.
that was okay. That was okay. Like, he's made a ton of great movies, but he's also made some ones that are just like, so for me, he'd probably be on there, I guess. Kurosawa would have to be on there. I don't know. You guys,
I haven't seen enough of his work.
Cinema as much as I watch Asian cinema, but Akira Kurosawa.
The Seven Samurai is incredible.
It's one of the best movies ever made.
I'm not an old movie guy, and I'm not a reading the shit on screen guy. And that's incredible.
It's
They're
just
called subtitles.
I don't like reading my movies. Get this out of here.
Yeah.
How did we go from Annihilation spoiler talk to?
Yeah. Sorry.
We're just talking now.
Let's exit. Come on, let's go.
All right, guys.
Hold on, I gotta finish my Rushmore, and then you can kick me off. Kurosawa, and then so okay, I'll say Spielberg. No, forget it. Hitchcock. So Hitchcock, Kurosawa, Nolan, Miyazaki.
And that's it. Comment down below with your 4. Bye.